Hi, everyone. Julia here with Cheryl, recording this January 20th, 2023. And Cheryl was just talking about her talk with Soul.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, it's been a real interesting week this week. I think that right now it's not just me, but it's kind of a few of us are going through some changes in our perception of what's going on here. um, a lot of things are happening. The Jason Bashir's archaics work is becoming a catalyst of explosion of errantry, debauchery, and learning and connecting. And it's like creating an information highway where the information can just get to all these different places of consciousness all at the same time. And it's like creating I don't know what you'd call it, where like it's like the 100th monkey, it's like you figure this concept becomes known to the consciousness, then it just starts spreading like wildfire without even telling each other. It's just like bubbling up through the consciousness. And I did the podcast with Saul Luckman, and probably a few weeks before I talked to Saul and we did the podcast, I'd watched one of Saul Luckman's podcasts where he was talking about, and he was pondering, am I the Archon? Am I the AMX? What's going on here? Because he started really noticing that, wait a minute, these challenges and these difficult times that I've had in my life, it's only brought me to a better place of understanding. It's only changed me for the better once I learned what the lessons were in that, challenge that I was facing. And he said, the thing is, when you take it one step further, I am the AIX. I am the contrast here. I am the person writing in my world the challenges that I need to face, which makes perfect sense, because who's going to know you and where you are the best but you? That's going to be where, the most information is going to come from, because you're the entity, you're the being, you're the conscious being that's living your experience. Well, consciousness you're going to know your consciousness and your configuration better than anything else here. So out of that, if you become the creating that, you're creating your reality here, which you can see it when you look all around you and you realize, oh, that's my fear of this over there. Oh, that's part of what I think about. I spend a lot of time thinking in that area. Oh, now I'm getting more information related to that. Then you start realizing, wait a minute, I'm doing this. And then if you take that last step, that you create all of your experience to learn in the simulation, to evolve. Accepting this is the last step to freedom. And that's what I've been sitting here this morning figuring out. Because then that means if you're creating all of it, nothing is doing anything to you. That gets you out of every victimization trap and frees you to go create what you want and just learn the lessons without fear. You can move into love much easier and create from there. So that's what I've been doing. What have you been doing, Julia?
Well, I think I've been manifesting like a boss, thanks to the ECCC gathering, and wow, that was so quick how that happened. Just amazing. And every time we go to the land, we're just awed, and yeah, just can't even explain. It's just insane. And like somebody will go, oh, well, I wish I had this, and then they'll find it over there. I mean, it's that crazy. It's that crazy. I mean, things are just literally popping out of the ether, it feels like, and just manifesting. And yeah, I think you're right. We are in charge of this, and that is the final realization. Oh wait, this has been me all along. And now I'm finally where I'm meant to be. So, and then from here, I don't know how it works, but that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, if we don't have the challenges, we don't grow. You know, if you're just, this is a journey, and you have to keep moving on a journey. And if you get too comfortable, you don't move. You just stay where you are. So yeah, once you realize that reality is an inside job, and you clear out all those fears and judgments that get in the way for you to manifest what you really want, then wow, just wow.
So it's almost like we're on the cutting edge of thought and creation here. We're getting close to where we are, really, because just like you said, we are creating our reality. And so where is the creation at? It's at the edge, we're on the leading edge. So as we're out here on the leading edge and we become the creator, then that, just explains what's been happening the last few weeks. We started the ECCC. Next thing Julia knows, she's already on her other land. And in that meeting, the last meeting we had with the ECC, we had several people that said, well, on the land, I see, I see it's green, a lot of green. I see a lot of green. And there was, I think the same person said, I see a stream. I think there's a stream somewhere on the property. And so it was almost like we were creating the reality right there. And we created the reality. And then Julia, who knew was part of the creation, went right in and stepped right into the reality of it. So it was like we created the world. Julia stepped into it. Next thing Julia knows, all the problems that she had just 2 days before is all gone. And so it wasn't really a challenge. It was just she's trying to move from this to that. It wasn't anything bad. It ended up being good. The man shows up. Well, y'all have to leave. Well, that was a great thing because now you don't have to deal with him anymore or his negativity or any of that stuff. So now you get to go somewhere else and create what you want and do it in a place where that's what's wanted there. And, I think the other piece of it was, as we were looking at the property piece, I saw on the first one, I saw a deed in your hand. Then on the second one, I saw that deed flying up into the air and raining down like confetti. In that, you didn't need the deed. You didn't need the deed because you was fixing to go somewhere where you could create for the next, 5 years. And maybe in the future, you might have a deed. But right now, you don't need one, which is really not as expensive as if you do have the deed, right? But you can go on to create that too if you want to. But I think that we're just now learning the process of actual creating and how we create our own reality. And I think where we've been getting hung up at is that when we see challenges pop up into our world, then we see that as a negative and then go, oh no, right? And so then there you create from there. Oh no. And then you start creating more of the oh no, because you're creating the good, the bad, and all of it at the same time. And I think that we write our life sims. I think we write all of it because in that way, we all are creating with other consciousnesses here that are part of us too. Then we kind of link up and then we all can create from there. But you have to know that you're the creating. If you don't know that, then it appears like all these things are just happening to you when they're really not. Those happenings to you was written in, from your programming, right?
Totally. And it really is like with this situation, we totally skipped the middleman. People are always wanting to manifest money to buy something. We just went right to the land, and it's
Yeah.
just unbelievable. It's like, it's like being in the Hobbit, living in Middle Earth, the way it's set up there. And yeah, it's just a matter of realizing that that's what's there and walk into it and just wow, I'm just still in so much awe. And like you were saying, it could have been looked at as bad news and going down that whole negative. Oh man, that sucks. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I might end up like this. I might end up like that. I might end up like that. And of course, that's where my mind wanted to go right away, down those tangents of the oh no's. And I just kept correcting it and putting it back, and just focus on exactly what this land looks like, and picturing me with the dogs walking there. So yeah, just so amazing, so amazing.
It's
And
it's
also,
kind of
it's
like,
it's also brought out it's
go
also
ahead.
brought out the opportunity for some dark uglies to come out and some of the community members, because moving is really stressful, and then a couple of people kind of got comfortable here, even though when we look at this place now compared to that place, this place just doesn't even appeal to us anymore. It's so funny. We used to really want to have this place, but now with the new place, it's like, oh no, we can do way better than that. So just totally, totally amazing.
Right.
And
And
like I
as you're
said,
going, go ahead.
go ahead.
And like you said, as those challenges arise, that's going to, trigger the dark uglies and others, which that again is giving them an opportunity to look at what's within themselves and get them closer to themselves. So see, everything here that we encounter has a purpose, and it does something. If it's not, moving you closer to yourself, it's moving you closer to your dreams, or it's moving you closer to understanding what's happening here. And then you're not in this washing machine of what in the heck is happening. You become into a field of understanding. Once you arrive at that place of, wait a minute, I'm doing this. And then you realize that it's been you all along and that you're doing it. Then the reins of the Clydesdale that are going down the street and you're on the back of it, just moving down the road, it becomes you're guiding the thing. And so I think that's where we end up in situations that we don't want, is we hand those reins to our big team of Clydesdale off to other people or other ideas or other belief systems. We hand those reins off, then that starts creating your reality, and then it starts going down trails you didn't really want to go down. Like, what am I doing here? I didn't want to end up here. Well, you handed your reins off because you gave your power away. And I think that's another thing that we have a little bit of trouble doing, is stepping into our full power. It's a very daunting, it can be overwhelming when you realize that you're doing it. That's a lot of power here. But once you realize it and you understand that that's your power to create with, it's what we're doing here. It's not a big deal. And it just becomes, what's next? Because as you realize you're the creating here, then the what's next, that is the journey. That is, what keeps your coherence together, is the continuation of the creation. And that's why it's never been about the destination. It's always about the journey, because you are the journey. You are creating the journey. And when you stop creating the journey, then your coherence of your consciousness kind of loses its information, because this is an information system we live in. So once you start losing your information, then you're kind of going backwards, and they call that de-evolving. You start de-evolving. And that's why you've got to get up here on the front edge of creation and get in there and create and do it, because then you're not losing your coherence and you're building your informed field to understanding. And then with that understanding brings more knowledge. With more knowledge brings more understanding. And then the next thing you know, you're living the exact life that you want to be living. That's kind of what comes from this work. And, when you realize that that's what's going on, then it kind of gives you a little bit more energy to, wait a minute, these things that I don't like, what's there? Let me look at that and see if I've got a belief somewhere, or I'm looking at a fear, and then I'm manifesting that fear because I'm creating it. And so it's just, you go on and till you get to the place where you realize all of this and that it's been you all along. That puts the reins squarely back into your hands, and then you can start guiding that big giant team of horses to the places that you want to go, and not, letting something else or some other idea drive your Clydesdales off into the ditch where there's no coherence and you don't know what's going on anymore, right?
Yeah, great, great analogy. And I love it that you used the washing machine earlier for an analogy because our washing machine broke yesterday. So there's some more mind reading there. But yeah, it really is like that. I can't wait to see, what's gonna what to behold in the future, after this one, because like you said, once you get there and you realize that you're like, wow, because this really is such a miracle. Because even the Facebook page where I posted, that we're a group of 10 looking for some land, kind of telling a little bit about our philosophy. And, the very next morning, just a couple of hours, there it is, and the Facebook group only has like, less than 750 members. I mean, and what are the odds? Not only that, my nephew will have to stay here for a while till we get it sorted over there. And it's only 10 minutes away. It's in the same village. It's just down the valley, up the valley, actually. I mean, it's just, I
Well,
mean, it's just
it's like
unbelievable.
it's like the creation benefits everyone in different ways. And that's why we don't want to build in too many details, because then it can't do that. Then you can't bring all the pieces together to work in the benefit for everyone. If you put too many details into your creation, then what you're doing is because we're not aware of everything we're creating all the time. And so if you put in too many details, then those other parts of us that are creating that we're not aware it's creating, then it has to move around those it's really obstacles when you put too many details in, because then it's got to move around all those obstacles that you put in there too, because it can only bring you what you believe and what what you're creating. So if you've got so many details in there about it, it can only bring you that. Well, there may not be a match, like there may not have been a match close to you there, I
Yep.
think it was just
And
go ahead.
yeah, and just around that property, some buildings, and there's just so much equipment that we can use, tons of gardening tools. And but I was there's this lady, Anna Brown. She has a great YouTube channel. Check her out. And she's just all about how it talks about how we are source, just like you were saying, we're source. Everything that happens here is because we created it. And she's always, own your power. You are source. You are God. You are making this. You are doing it. And that's one of the things I thought, when I was wanting to go down that road of worry and concern, And I remember lying in my bed, just, going, hey, I'm source. I'm God. I create. I got this. I got this covered, I'm gonna make it happen, and then bam, it did. I was like, and it surprises you, I guess since I'm still a novice at this kind of manifesting. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's no denying it. There's no denying it. I mean, just the odds of everything. And the owner of this land isn't even in Portugal. He just checks the Facebook a lot. So there's just so many things. It's just, yeah, it's total
Wow.
manifestation. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And it's even right down the street, so that the transition is going to be easy.
Yeah, that's another big thing. We can take our time with a lot of the things here, and I'm leaving on good terms, even though it was, and I was sincerely, because I've been here a year and a half and been through a lot with the owner. He's lived here too. He's been my housemate, and he's got a lot of dark uglies, and he has no he doesn't want to go down that self awareness introspection road at this point. So
Right.
he's often the victim. But I wrote him a little note and sincerely thanked him, for having, offering this place to me for the time he did and just for everything, because the good, the bad, the ugly, it was all good. It was all lessons and just so much, and even now with the community, there's different personalities and everybody has to work with everyone else, but it's just great having all these challenges because like you said before, anything that seems like it's rough or an obstacle or whatever, it's really an opportunity, not really a challenge. It's all opportunities. That's all there is here is opportunity.
Yes. Yes, that's what it is. It's an opportunity. And even, and even on some of the harder challenges that we deal with, if you look real deep under that, it could be the opportunity for you to, get in there and really understand, how those events can are affecting you in your present when they don't have to. You don't have to carry the shackles and chains of past experiences. You can just change your perception on how you view those things. You can look at that as I was just a little child there and I didn't have any control of what was going on there. I was not manifesting my reality yet. My parents were in control of that right then. I'm sure we manifest some things as children, but I think that we're still, trying to grow up. And then when we have those real big challenges coming, if you look at them, those big challenges, if you can decode those and work through them, those are the challenges that can change you forever and make you into the person that you would love to be, with a life that is wonderful. And those are the challenges that, give us the most information about where we need to grow. And it appears that it's just a horrible thing, but when you look at the bigger picture around it, well, wait a minute. If I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't be sitting here right now at the leading edge of creation, creating my own reality. I would still be back there in challenge land, blaming everything on everybody around me. So I can look at things from my past from a different perspective as an adult if I choose to do so. And I can also let go of, suffering and pain around it. I can just let go of it and move forward in my life and cut them shackles off and turn and face my future and stop worrying about, I didn't like that. Well, I didn't like the way it felt. Well, there's things here that don't feel great. There's things here that feel wonderful. It's all here. It's all of it. And if you think about it too, feelings don't kill you. They don't make you die. They're just feelings. It's an emotion. It's an energy. So you just need to work with that energy, feel it. It's not going to kill you. It has a beginning, a middle, and end. Just let it process through, and then don't beat yourself up. You didn't cause it. When you're a child, there's other adults that are taking care of your surroundings and all that. You didn't do any of that. You weren't in charge of that one. So just letting go of all that and having compassion for yourself. And it's like, wow, okay, I got through it. I did it. All right, what's next? And move on out of there. I mean, get your lessons and go. That's the way I see it. But I've done that too, in the past. Before I understood a little bit more about what's happening here, I would get into that bucket of the past and swim around in it, like that's where I belonged. And it kept pulling me back to that because I didn't know how to heal it and I didn't know how to understand it or move through it. But as you start learning how to understand it, as you start learning how to understand your experiences and what you're doing, then you can look at it in a completely different way. You don't get in there and climb into the bucket and swim with it. You just look at it, you observe it, you don't absorb it. You just go, okay, that experience taught me this, this, and this. And then you can even look at some things that you're glad about it. Well, I'm glad I had that experience, because if I had not had that experience, I would have ended up in these other bad places that would have been even harder to get out of. And I think that's what the lessons are there to tell you, is who you really are. And that thing they call the self is the God. You are the God within. And the journey in is to the realization that you are the God. You're it. You're the creator. And so this journey is, it's been amazing to watch, and amazing, to watch the ECCC, pull together and help each other with our manifestation, so that even through that experience, we could all see, we watched Julia's manifestation happen within 48 hours. So that tells you right there how powerful we are and what we can really do with our consciousness. We're not these avatars, we're consciousness. And when you put consciousness together, then that makes the signature or the light of it brighter. And I think it makes a way for us to be able to create our informed field with almost like permanent ink, it makes that informed field even more pronounced, more, creative, to where it makes it much easier to manifest. And then I think once we move from that, then we can go to practicing doing this on our own without the group and see what happens. It's about learning how to be the best creator here you can be. And, in my talk with Saul Luckman, he came to all of this from just study and years of study and looking at, around him what was going on. And once he kind of figured out, wait, I'm the creator creating. And then all of a sudden he starts writing these books. One of his books he got in one download while he was asleep. He wakes up and he's got a whole book in his mind. And then he goes and then he writes this book. It's called Callie the Destroyer. And in that book was a bunch of precognitive things that he had written in there. And then as he's writing this book, what he's writing starts coming true. And then he's like, wait a minute, I'm part of this, I'm doing it. And so that's how he kind of got to it, was just from observation of his own life. And he is a very creative person and intuitive. And I think this is the area of the mind that if we strengthen that intuitive part of our mind by using our imagination, and we talked about this on using our consciousness video, work on those things, work on empathy, work on imagination and intuition. That is where, that is the leading edge of creation. Because if you think about it, what is imagination? You are imagining things into being. And, that's one of the reasons I'll go outside and I'll just sit on my little swing and I just start imagining all the great things that could be, wow. I bet my nephew just really does really well in this new work he's doing. I bet he does. All of those thoughts are creative and we can help others with them. We can help ourselves with them. It's like, wow, I bet I have a good day today. I bet today goes really smooth. All of those thoughts are creative. That is the creative part of you. And so, and that's why, when we're caught into a negative loop, that's creative too. You're creating that also. And that's why it's really, really good for us to pull ourselves out of those negative thought loops as fast as we can catch ourselves doing that. I mean, because you don't want to be creating that. We think that it's okay to just think whatever we want to. And there's not any ramifications from that. Oh, well, my thoughts are my own. Well, no, they're not. Your thoughts are part of the creative process. And so I've been, being a little more careful about the things I think about. And then on some of the other thoughts, I was thinking about, the Archaics meetup that's going to be happening here in April. It just started with one thought of 20, 15, 20 people and me meeting up in Texas for a fun, happy, fun clown day, just a bunch of errands being silly and having some shenanigans, and now it's turning into this huge event. The last I heard, they've got sponsors coming in that are completely bringing in all the funding to fund, the event. Jason and Matt are bringing in all the, they're bringing in books, and there's going to be book signings, and all of this creation is just bubbling up out of just this one idea. So it was probably already there. I just kind of linked up to it. Oh, I've got this idea because I think Jason and Matt had been talking about going on the road and doing an Archaics world tour where they go in the van and they do live meetings with people who are on the leading edge and are discovering these same things. And then they go have conversations with people, which I think is just a great idea. It would be so fun. And I think that as we start knowing that we're creators, then things like this start happening, where it's like a little pebble rolling down, or a little pebble falling off of a mountain, and then it hits two more pebbles, then that turns into bigger rocks, and the next thing you know, you've got, this huge movement. I think that it's part of creating, and how we can all jump in on the created part, and we can create more of it. And how we can all help each other, because when you help each other in cooperation, then everybody gets what they want. But when you're always in competition, that's kind of how things are set up now, where we have a lot of fear going on, and well, fear and focusing on yourself, all that does is create competition. Well, now you're in competition with the creative force that is you too. Well, I don't want to compete with that. That's going to be not easy. And then you're competing with everybody around you. Well, nobody wants to compete with each other. What we love to do is cooperate, because when we cooperate, it makes it more coherent and more easier to understand. When we're all competing and we're all in competition with each other, it is not fun for us. It's miserable, because then, not only are you creating negative in your life, you're creating negative in other people's lives that you're involved in. So everything we do here has consequences. And so I'm just hoping to, most of it has been in my understanding of what's going on in my life, because as I'm talking, I'm learning it in the process too. I'm not trying to tell other people what to do. I am just, I'm just talking about what I'm experiencing right now. And if I'm experiencing it as a consciousness, that means other people can experience that too. And you can see Julia's experiencing it. I've been experiencing it. I was able to manifest another meeting with Tom Campbell. I get to go and spend another 5 days listening to Tom Campbell in his infinite wisdom and wizardry that he has. So I'm sure that I'm going to learn a lot more in that situation. And so it's the co-creating at its finest, and I think that helps when we all understand that we're not in cooperation, so that when we do work on YouTube, and we connect together here, that it's not a competition. We're all in this together. We're doing this to help each other, and we're doing it to make ourselves and the world a better place. And if we can just stay out of that competitiveness, because all that competitiveness it's another way to think in scarcity. Oh, I don't have enough, so I need to go and take from over there, or we don't have to do that. We don't have to take from somewhere else to give to yourself. You just create it yourself. You don't have to take anything from anyone. And I think that's just the next level of consciousness that we're moving to. We are creating it. We're creating something different. I think that, we lose our coherence from time to time, but then it comes back again, and we kind of figure it out again. And it's almost like God hiding from itself.
Yeah, cooperation is the name of the game. I don't even like sports because of the whole competition thing. And I've said that forever, and you look at the schools and stuff, it's just horrible. And they push that scarcity stuff on you so hard. I have to remind myself all the time, I'm like, oh, I spent money on that, and now a lot. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm infinitely abundant. I mean, whatever. Money is a joke. I mean, they created out of thin air anyway, and so we can too if we need the stuff. But with this last manifestation, we skipped the middleman. We didn't need the money. We just went straight to the product, the land. And yeah, it's just so amazing. And we really even have, literally, as far as I can see, we have at least 100 acres that we can use, compared to what we had before, which was probably 10 acres, So it's just so amazing and just so unreal. And I think you're right, like you were saying earlier, that this information is catching on. You see more and more channels. Like I was talking about Anna Brown. I'll put a link to her channel for you guys, because she has good stuff. She's a young lady that is just tapped in, and there's all these people that are so tapped in and giving great information. And Jason was asking in his last video who do you want to hear from, and I put that I wanted to hear from you and Tom Campbell together. with Jason. That would be epic, epic. So I'm sure
Well,
that can happen. And maybe when you're over there with Tom, y'all can do a live with Jason. And by then, you and Jason will be homies because after the event. So you'll have the event after you see Tom. But
oh,
now
that's
you're gonna.
super interesting. You just started a creative point there. See, look what Julie's doing. It's just an idea. Now, let's see how this went into my brain. It's just an idea. Now, when I first found Jason, he only had like 3,000 subscribers. And I started listening to his content and what the messages were behind it. Break free or die trying. This is a simulation. You are an errant. You're an immortal soul here. You are not an avatar. It's the same thing that Tom Campbell's saying. It's the same thing. And I thought, oh my goodness, this would be the most epic dialogue between Jason Breshears and Tom Campbell. So I wrote Jason an email and put that in there. And he wasn't ready at that point, and he told me, well, I put that in my important file. So see, Julie is tapping into the creation, and then I can go there and maybe we can set up set it up from there. Or I could just email them and ask them, because they would. Tom Campbell, he's always willing to talk to people who are on the cutting edge, who understand that we're in a simulation, and he's all about getting it out there of what you really are, and you come into what you really are. And so
Right, and he's also doing the quantum physics experiments to prove we're in a simulation, which I think Jason would love to hear about that.
right, so we're soon going to have the evidence that's going to prove that we are in a simulation. And then with Tom Campbell's, theory on top of it, then it's going to show, well, we're consciousness. And that means that consciousness is foundational. These avatars that are walking around in this simulation are not foundational. That's not what we are. It's like we're in a video game. Our consciousness is controlling the avatar and putting the thoughts into it and making all this happen. And so that conversation between them two, it's probably been in the works. And here's Julie and I tapping in to that vibe. And I think part of it is, it just I think it's coming, and we can just see it coming. I think at some point that they will talk, and I think it's going to be super interesting because of they're coming from the same thing from two different angles. It's the same thing. And Jason knows that love is the answer. He talks about love too, and he even tells everybody at the end of every show, love you guys, most of the time. He knows. And so then that's really the message that all of us are trying to step forward and build this informed field, because the informed field has, we've gone through stages where we lose the information. And in the losing of that information, well, that's just an opportunity for us to grow some more. Because when we have all the information, we know what's going on. Well, then we need another challenge. So let's wipe it all out again and start over. So it's a really interesting topic about all of this. And I think it'll be really interesting if we can get those two, on a podcast together. I think that, as Tom does talk about, getting rid of fear and becoming love, and Tom's vibration is a really difficult, and this is the thing about Tom Campbell. He has such a strong vibration. He is firmly tuned into love, and it's a very coherent vibration that when you're in dialogue with Tom Campbell, a lot of people don't know this. I may have said it before, that when I was doing the videos with Tom Campbell, your mind, it's so hard to hang on to your train of thought, because Tom Campbell's vibration is always the dominant vibration wherever he goes. Because he's been working on this a long time, and he has a very, very powerful vibration. And so, I'm still working on mine, and I'm sitting there trying to think of, Tom, he's going to say something. Now I need to think of, the next question that needs to be asked. And all you do is draw a blank because you're in that vibration of love and your mind is just going, oh, this feels so good. What, are we doing something? It's just so lovely. And so it's super hard to focus and concentrate when you're in the presence of Tom Campbell. And that may be why Jason is just he doesn't want to do that interview yet. I'm sure that Jason could hold his own vibration with Tom Campbell, but he may not want to right now. He may not want to do that because it is a lot of it's a lot of work. You really have to work at being in the presence of Tom Campbell.
Tom Campbell was put on the list on that video.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So you put it on there?
Yeah, I watched it, and Matt said Tom Campbell and Jason said, "Oh yeah, I've been hearing about him for a long time. Put him down there. Put him on the list." So
I guess ready. I'll shoot another email and say, well,
ready.
If Tom Campbell's the pick.
Ready. Yeah. So stay tuned for that manifestation, folks. And another thing too, when you get to this point where you realize, hey, wow, you tell yourself all the time, yeah, I'll manifest, I manifest. And I've been doing that, and I have been, but this one is just like that one. It's the one that just gets you over that point where you're like, wow, I'm here. I can do this, and I can manifest anything, and it puts you in that vibration you were talking about. It puts you in that love vibration. And I was thinking, well, maybe that's the trick when you finally get to that level. Maybe some people, that's what they call enlightenment. I don't know. But you get to that one level, and after that, when you realize that power you have, you can't do anything but be love.
Once you know it, you can't unknow it, right? Once you know and you've experienced it, you just experienced manifesting exactly what you wanted in real time within a day of doing the thought work on manifestation. So now that you have the evidence, you have personal
less than a day, like 12 hours.
Oh, excuse me. In 12 hours, you have personal experiential evidence that this is true, that what we think and what we believe, we can manifest what we want and when we want it. So now you can never go back. Well, that just happened. You can't go back there. You have to step into those big old shoes and upgrade your reality to, I'm doing this, so I'm going to do what I can to figure out what I'm doing. What is it I'm doing here? And then go from there, because there's no going back. Once you know you're doing it, you can't go back and sit comfortably and, well, I'm just dealing with what's happening and I'll do the best I can with what comes. There's no going back to that.
Right. And with that comes responsibility, that's fine. You welcome that because, yeah, I'll be responsible for my awesome life. No problem.
Right. It's because when you're right, once you go there, then it's taking full responsibility for all of it, not just the parts you like, taking full responsibility for everything in your life. See, once you get to that point there, then, I think it is the step to enlightenment. I do. I think that once you realize those struggles and challenges were put there by you, then you can step into the full power of your beingness. You can step into everything that you are, because it's almost like accepting your shadow side, or accepting accepting the dark and the light, and that they both work interdependently. It's not one or the other. It's both. And we need both to do the work that we do here. We need both of those tools. And I think that, once you step into your power, then you are lit up from the inside from yourself, which is the God, which is the, I don't think that, oh, you become an angel. I think you become an informed creator. I don't think any of us are angels. I think we have, we can be kind, we can be cruel, we can be all of it. I don't think that we're doing this to become angels. I think we are doing this to become more accurate and creative, artistic. We are doing it to become better creators, not so that we can become this this perfect thing that, okay, now we've reached perfection. Well, now what? What's next after? Okay, I mean, think about it. What's next? Okay, everything's
Exactly.
perfect. Now what?
Yeah.
Well, now you've
Yeah, we
just
don't
painted
want
yourself into another corner. We don't want
right.
corners.
You don't want to be on a cloud playing a harp, for eternity. And Tom Campbell talks about that too. Some people want to set out between transitions and they're like, fine, but after a while they want to get back in, because eternity is a long time. So, and I really think this is when your real shadow work begins, is when you get to this level, because then everything is illuminated. Every little thing, some little interaction happens, and like you said, you're not the perfect angel now. You're gonna make mistakes too. We're moving here, and I'm an abrupt, tell it like it is kind of person, and that can, other people that have more ego in there, that can rub them the wrong way sometimes. So sometimes I have to step back. I have to make apologies. I have to consider other people. I have to really, use my empathy, like you were saying, and come from a compassionate love angle, and still have to, have some programming that's still residual there to get rid of, but it gets easier and easier. The more you manifest, it's like manifesting is, it helps you achieve your emotional healing, your shadow work. It's like they go hand in hand, and I've never really heard about that kind of angle, but it really does. It's like, they give each other momentum, so your manifesting gets better and your shadow work gets, done. So yeah, it's just really interesting how those interplay with each other.
Yeah, and how intelligent consciousness is. And it's so intelligent, we cannot fathom it with our, through our human avatar mind. We can't fathom it. It's so intelligent. And that's why look at how long it's taken, for some of the most brilliant minds on the planet thinking about this, reality that we're in. It's taken all this time because science and everything else is just now starting to come to that conclusion that we are consciousness and we are not these avatars and we're in a simulation, and we're just now getting there. Look how long it took. That is an intelligent system because it took a long time to get there. And I think that that's just part of the game. Consciousness splits off. We come here, we don't understand what we did before because we have, with the memory wipes, well, it works perfectly. You get your memory wiped, then you come back and then you're lost again to find your way home again. And, you continue doing that. And in that process, that cycle of evolutionary, living life sims over and over, you are changing your consciousness, which is changing the whole consciousness, because it's you and you're it. It's all of it. But because of the memory wipes and all that, see, we can't see the whole picture anymore. All we can see is just what we bring into our awareness. And I think that we put in there little things to trick ourselves because we find it humorous and fun to do puzzles. We love those as consciousness. And even in doing those puzzles, we're learning there too, and one of the things that Saul Luckman talks about and that we talked about was, once you start learning what's going on here, in a way you become like a rascal saint who ends up, in kind of the full character, where sometimes the things that you are involved in, it looks like shenanigans. It looks like debauchery. It looks like shenanigans, like, oh, but what it really is you're just helping other people out, and that's what we do here. I've had a lot of people come help me out, but when I first met them, it was like clash of the, clash. I was like, what is happening here? And then as I kind of think through it and look at the puzzle, and it's kind of like mulling over a Rubik's Cube, trying to figure out what is going on here. Then once I solve the problem, they end up being my best friend, because then I'm able to go back and thank them. It's like, oh my goodness, you're kind of like a bodhisattva, which a bodhisattva is something that comes to you. It looks terrible, but once you have the right perceptive lens on, they become something beautiful to you, because they helped you overcome something that you've been working on for a long time. And so that bodhisattva becomes a thing of beauty, and not a thing of, well, you just did that. You're a rascal. You just did that on purpose. No, they didn't do it on purpose. It's just how we as consciousness works together to help each other get out of our own way. And so when those bodhisattvas show up, I've learned now, oh, I recognize you. Thank you for bringing me exactly what I need. That's a completely different perception than looking at your bodhisattva and making that into your enemy. See, it's a completely different way to look at it, and it changes it into a way where it just looks like shenanigans, and it stings a little bit, but it's the momentum that moves you forward to get out of a place that you're not happy in anyway. So when you really get to that place where you're thinking your bodhisattvas, you're thinking the monster that appears like a monster, you're thinking that, and you're thinking the challenges that come up, then you don't have any more uh-ohs, then you're not creating uh-ohs anymore. And then in the process, that's getting rid of your dark uglies. So see, it's all working together in wheels within wheels. It's all connected together, and it's all there for you, and it's all there to help you. It's not there to throw you in a hole and cover you up and make it to where you can't figure out what's happening in your world. It's there to help you. And once you get to there, it's like those happy little Buddhas sitting in India. They see the bodhisattva as something good. They see the challenge as something good. And they walk around with a smile on their face all the time. Look at him. Look at the Dalai Lama. Look at his attitude. Everywhere he goes, it's positive. He has a great vibe. All these people want to be around him because he knows the bodhisattva, the shenanigans, all of that is just an illusion. And he knows that he's in a place of where it doesn't really matter anyway. The simulation, it's just ones and zeros. And he knows that. And so he focuses perception in such a way that there's nothing bad happening to him in the first place. And so that's the perception that we're all reaching for, because it's there for all of us, not just the Dalai Lama. It's there for everybody, because you are consciousness just like the Dalai Lama is. But we are all in our different places of learning. We're all learning as we go. And as you keep learning this information and processing through it and just taking one step at a time, and, looking at those obstacles as something good instead of something negative, it's a process. But once you start getting to the other side of it, you're really going to appreciate yourself for doing this work, because then your life can become wonderful. And it does. My life is not hellish like it was before. It's really not. I have fun all the time. I know that there's negative here in this creative space. I know. I don't want people to suffer. That's not my, that's not my goal. Oh, I want people to suffer here. No, I don't want people to suffer here, which is one of the reasons why I do what I do to help others. I'm trying to assist and help in their transition into a better perception. And I know that those that are suffering, I know that it's not real and they're not really being damaged. I know that they're going to be okay in the long run. I don't look at it like that. Oh, they've been damaged for life. Oh my God, I know that their consciousness, and I know that they're going to get themselves out of that eventually in time. And I just hope they can, and I know that there's assistance here, and I know that they're going to get the assistance that they need. I've gotten all the assistance that I needed through my process, and I know that's available for everyone. And as you start moving down this road, those special magical helpers just show up. And so I'm going to look out into the world with eyes of gladness that, we are really moving fast right now. We're really getting, some of these chains that bind us off of us, so that we can be, free to be the creators that we were meant to be here. Yeah, it's a good thing as I see it from this perspective. Now I know it can look really dire from other perspectives, but it's really not, because we don't
Yeah,
exist.
because really everything like so-called problems and mistakes, those are really just challenges. And that's what we need. That's what we gave ourselves, challenges. And that's what it's all about. Like you said, it's a game and we figured it out. And it's just about learning, it's a really it's a game, but it's a game that develops your immortal personalities, uh it's super challenging, That's why we had so many challenges, and some of us seem to have more than others, but then you get to that point you can look back on those things that seem so horrific, and they're no big deal. They made you who you are, and you got over it, and now you're to this point where you're a master manifester. And it really is true about when you get that bad news, not to go down that worry state, because that's what I did here when I got the news that we needed to leave the property. I was just like, well, has something in store for us with this one. That was, I think I even said it out loud, and I was like, thank you. I can't wait to see what it is. So it really is that way. And when you get to that point where, like you said, these things happen, it's still gonna happen no matter who you are, and you just see them for what they are, and you'll just go around and with a smile on your face and a great resident.
Yeah, Tom Campbell said that to me several times. When I first started working on my fears and stuff, and as I looked at, some of the things I did and said to people when I was in that fearful state was terrible. And I felt terrible about it. I was like, oh my God, did I do that? I was like, yep, that's what you did. But I understood. Oh, okay. I did that because I had this, this problem over here. And then Tom said to me, he's like, you don't have to feel bad about that. He goes, because it really doesn't matter. This is a simulation. It's not real. He said, don't worry about that. What you do is you look at it, observe it. What is it? And then you learn from it. He goes, get the lesson from it, drop the rest, and let it go. He said, because it does not matter what you did in your past. Yeah, it hurt other people. He said, well, you don't know. You may have been assisting them in their process too. See? And then I went, oh, well, maybe me having the dark uglies around that person taught them how they didn't want to be. Oh God.
Yeah, I'm sure that happened in some instances for sure.
He
I'm
said
sure
it's
I've
all
done that as
learning.
well.
And he said it's all learning. And he said you don't have to have negative feelings towards yourself. And he said that's actually one of the worst things that you can do is when you have negative feelings towards yourself, you've got all that powerful creative energy aimed directly at you. And he said that's not good either. He said you don't have to love yourself. He said just don't hate yourself. And so we talked about that. So yeah, I learned so much in this last 6 years, and it was just around all of this. It was, it was around the simulation theory. It was around who and what we are here as consciousness. And, at those immersives, Tom goes outside of his book, My Big Toe. He doesn't just teach what's in that book. He teaches what consciousness is and what you're doing here. That's what he's teaching people. And he's telling them, you're doing it. And then, something very negative happened at one of the immersives. And I'm sitting there. And then when it happened, okay, half the people in the room got upset. And I look over at Tom because I'm going to look at his reaction to it. I look over at Tom. He's laughing. When everybody else got upset, not Tom. He knows full well it's to help those people there that got upset learn something. So he looked at it like something good, and he just started laughing. And because he knew what it was, he's like, oh, everybody's going to learn something from that one. And I did. I learned a huge lesson about compassion from that experience. But when it was happening, I didn't appreciate it. It wasn't funny. But there was other people there that did think it was funny. Tom laughed, and a couple of other people there who were highly evolved. The highly evolved ones laughed. Everybody else that was still in fear and dealing with that, they got upset. So see, it depends on your perception of how you see the bodhisattva, the negative thing, as to how it's going to affect you. Either it's going to teach you a lesson, or you're going to see it for what it is, like, oh, that's good. That's there to help those people, come to the conclusion that their consciousness too, and that fear is the problem and love is the answer. So it's all good if you look at it through this perception of what we truly are. And it's not an easy thing to do, but there's a lot of people that are starting to get, wait a minute, I see these patterns in my own life. And those patterns, to me, they're just programs. It's programs that we've written. I can see a program in my come up, the pattern. It's like, oh, there's my programming. Look at that. It's like, I'm a pretty good programmer here. I'm getting better and better at it every day, because now that I know what I'm doing. And so I'll start thinking around something, and I'm like, okay, all right, systems up. Let's do this program. All right, let's program this. I would like to see this at this event, and I want to have a good, clear consciousness on this day. See, I'm already creating the day that I'm going to have at the Archaics event. I want my vibration to be so tuned in that when I walk into that room, that I am in resonance with love, so that that's what people feel when they come around me. I don't want to be stressed because I'm going to be working hard. I'm going to be tuned to the resonance of love, where everything just falls into place and that there isn't anything wrong. And when a challenge comes up, then I'm going to stand there and laugh about it, because I'm sure it's going to be funny. And there's going to be lots of people there that are going to be needing to work together to make everything, flow real well that day. So it's just this thing of getting out of the mindset of observing your reality as something outside of yourself. In that mindset that this is a material world and you're just observing it and reacting to it, to the mindset of you are the creator creating it. That's two different mindsets. And that's the leap that I think that we're ready to take as a collective consciousness. And I think that that's one of the reasons we had the thing happen the last 3 years. That's pushing everybody even closer to that realization that we create what we think about. And so if we're diving deep into a bunch of negative media, well, guess what? That's what we're going to get. But everybody doesn't have to get that. Only the people that believe it have to get that. So then there's that. So I'm just here. I'm just an open channel. I'm not channeling, because that's my data stream and it's filtering through my mind. So the details may be off somewhere here and there. I'm not channeling. I'm just looking at it through different eyes as I grow and evolve. I'm no perfect being. I have shenanigans too. Saul and I talked about that too, about the rascal saint. Once you get to a place and you realize that's going on around you, it's like, oh, did I do that? No, you didn't do it. You were part of it though. And accepting that too. It's okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's all lessons and challenges and growing and into that state, that resonance of being love. And you can see in groups, like you were talking about with Tom Campbell, the two different frequencies there, the one that had the fear going, and of course for a while y'all were all the same frequency, but then something happened and bam, split into two frequencies and totally noticeable. And same thing kind of happened just recently here. And it was such a thing, you can really feel that frequency difference, and you just get so much more in touch with all your intuitive abilities, which lead to your so-called supernatural abilities. And they're, like Tom Campbell always says, they're not supernatural, they're just natural. And we all have them. And yeah, it's that time. For whatever reason, we're able to get this information to more people than ever, as far as we know. And wow, just wow, what an amazing time to be here and to know people like you, Cheryl. And I I'm sure we'll be doing all kinds of amazing things going forward, and it's just so exciting. It's almost hard to sleep even because there's just so much to do, and just you just get to that state. You're just full of energy, and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, it's just hard to explain, but everybody can get there. Everybody can get here, and
Yes.
that's what
And
Cheryl,
it's been
Cheryl and
happening
I
since
are
I met
here.
Julia. We came together. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. Because
We've
I'm
amped it
excited
up.
too.
We've amped it up big time. Yeah, we amped it up since you and I started contacting each other. Yeah, I mean, our ECCC group is no joke. And like you said, people will be able to get to do it on their own. And we'll probably have to break that up into other groups because it's real long. And I even suggested that maybe people write down what they see and then send it out to the person or whatever later. But it's really so cool though. And it works. It works. And
It does work, and
yeah,
we can tinker with it and make it to where it's not a 2-hour process. I think that would also be helpful. And maybe you can figure out how we can take our work from that day and maybe just kind of simplify it, because when we talk we have
right.
to use metaphors around what we're thinking, but we can put a paragraph into just one sentence, right? And then just break it down to the simplest form you can, put 2 or 3 sentences of what you saw, make it real simple, and that way it won't feel like you're writing an essay after the after the thing.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
and we can
We'll
just
we'll
keep focusing
refine
in
the
that way.
process.
Say again.
Yeah, we'll totally refine the whole process there, but yeah, it works. It's so cool. But yeah, I think we've covered quite a bit, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's such exciting times, everyone. So if you want one of Cheryl's bracelets, her information will be there. You need to send your address and your wrist size, and yeah, y'all just know what's going on. She's doing the Archaics meetup. She's going to meet with Tom Campbell. So many things are happening and so quick. So just wow. So we're just holding on tight to these thoroughbreds, or what were they, Glidestaffs? But yeah,
Hang on to
just
your team of Clydesdales, because we're moving now.
yeah. Our hair's blowing in the wind along with the horse manes and riding. But yeah, just can't, pretty much speechless because it's just so exciting and so cool. But thank you, everyone out there, for listening. And remember to always focus on what you. Oh my gosh, that's so important. Help others if you can. And Cheryl, you have any last words?
I have no last words, but just come on, y'all. Hop on the team Clydesdales, because let's get this thing moving down the road. Let's go. It's a lot
Yeah,
funner than being in, doubt. Let's just be in, this high vibration of understanding. And then we're just flying down the road, and we're doing it, we're the ones doing it. And I love this new vibe. I think that it's time, and I think we're all here for it. And it's coming. We're doing it. And just everybody send everybody love and understanding as you work through these pieces on your own. Just know that there is something on the other side of that, and you're getting there. Don't be discouraged, because if you are here in this vibration of Julia's channel and around this whole vibe that we've got going of it's moving down the road, that means that you're super close too. So just keep going. It's right on the other side of you, right on the other side of the negativity, and you're working there, and you'll get there. So don't give up, and don't have doubt, because you're doing it. And hop on the Clydesdales, because here we are. We're moving down the road. And y'all have a great and wonderful day.
yep. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And we'll talk to you next time. Ciao, ciao.
Julia? Oh, that's funny.